African presence in early Europe.
In the first millennium AD, 96% of European people had dark skin. It was only in the 4th or 5th century that more than half displayed the light skin tones recognized as European today. This means that even during the days of the Roman Empire, darker skin predominated on the continent.
In other words, there can be no real identity with our heritage until we know what our heritage really is. It is all hidden in our history, but we are ignorant of that history. We have been floating alone, basking blissfully in the sunny heritage of other peoples.
Due to the Rockefeller education system, i.e., white insecurity, our history and knowledge has been whitewashed, obfuscated, eradicated, and suppressed via violent psychological propaganda that is used to colonize the mind, disabling the body's ability to use one mind in perpetuity to knowledge that has been forsaken. The victors may write the history, but the truth is in our bones and DNA. As we continue with this presentation, you will learn the true history of humanity's pigmentation. With such truths to be revealed, one will either cry out and shout towards the screen with obscenities and radical racial ideology that reaffirms their insecurities and historical illiteracy, or one will listen, observe, and reflect upon the words that are spoken. As I have always said, please do your own research. You may be surprised at what you discover about the world and yourself. Are you still here? Well, look at you. Perhaps we can make a hotep out of you after all.
Phenotypic inference from ancient DNA is complicated, both because these traits are polygenic and because of low sequence depth. We evaluated the effects of the latter by randomly removing reads in two high-coverage ancient samples, the Paleolithic Usts Ishim from Russia and the Mesolithic SF-1-2 from Sweden. We could thus compare three approaches to pigmentation inference, concluding that for suboptimal levels of coverage, 8x, a probabilistic method estimating genotype likelihoods, leads to the most robust predictions. We then applied that protocol to 348 ancient genomes from Eurasia, describing how skin, eye, and hair color evolved over the past 45,000 years. The shift towards lighter pigmentations turned out to be all but linear in time and place, and slower than expected, with half of the individuals showing dark or intermediate skin colors well into the copper and iron ages. We also observed a peak of light eye pigmentation in Mesolithic times and an accelerated change.
Testing the robustness of phenotypic inference on ancient data.
The Herisplex-S protocol has been applied on various ancient specimens, including, for example, medieval samples that remain dated to around 1485, attributed to King Richard III. The Cheddar Man, the La Bragne Mesolithic sample, and even a 5,700-year-old chewed birch pitch from which human DNA was extracted. Figure 1. We evaluated the Herisplex-S inferential robustness, with genotypes generated using 3 different calling procedures. We selected these samples because they represent crucial historical periods and geographical locations, Paleolithic Russia and Mesolithic Sweden, and were, at the time of the analysis, the 2 best covered samples at the 41 Herisplex-S positions. We first obtained the phenotypic prediction for each sample using the high-coverage genome, 28x for the UST Ishim sample and 44x for the SF12 sample. Subsequently, we identified the minimum coverage across the 41 Herisplex-S positions, that is 17x for UST Ishim sample and 33x for SF12, and performed prog We first obtained the phenotypic prediction for each sample using the high-coverage genome, 28X for the US to Ishim sample, and 44X for the SF12 sample. Subsequently, we identified the minimum coverage across the 41 Hirisplex S positions, that is 17X for US to Ishim sample and 33X for SF12, and performed progressive downsampling starting from these coverage levels. Figure 2 shows the estimated phenotypes and their frequency for each coverage level for the 2 test samples, under the 3 different calling algorithms.
The more advanced our technology continues to evolve, the more difficult it will be to hide or even erase the secret history, aka the true history, of our species' origin and the builders of our past to future civilizations. We are able to make sense and disseminate the hidden truth written within the propaganda of human history. Few will say the Hotep's been told you, that the knowledge has always been known, you just haven't been awoken. With technologies such as Hirisplex S system is proven to be too valuable an asset to exposing the truth of our world's mysteries. How soon before it is made illegal to scientists, professors, and citizens alike? Will the truth outshine the capabilities of white insecurity propaganda? Or will the individual unified with the consensus prevail in maintaining our ability to research, study, and experiment free of maximum censorship? We recently covered the Cheddar Man on this channel. And with the data from that research and the recent developments revealed in this specific paper, my theories and those of many before me, of wiser and more prestigious accolades, however not as handsome and charming, proves unmistakably that we have been lied to about the true color of ancient civilization throughout the world. In the following segment, we will now learn where the saying, "Black don't crack," originated from. Hello there, I'm Kios Ronin Beatmaker, and welcome to Ronin Art and Music, home to Ronin Music, Lounge Ronin, all things, everything, the Monday Mindset Rants, and Ronin Reviews. We strive to make holistic and authentic content that aims to improve your individuality, mental fortitude, and peace of mind. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love. Now, back to the show.
Anthropologist Alfred Haddon holds that the Grimaldi were part of several waves of black people who migrated into Europe from North Africa and replaced the old Neanderthal group as early as 40,000 years ago during the Aurignacian Age. We know, he states, that the Aurignacians were superior in every way to the old Neanderthal group of men whom they conquered and probably exterminated. Rogers shares this point of view, holding that the Grimaldis were an African people whose uninterrupted belt of culture extended from South Africa to Central Europe. Chapter 13, History of Humanity, Evolution of the Black World.
We collected a large dataset of 348 published ancient DNAs from individuals typed at different coverage levels, as seen in Figure 3, and spanning from 45,000 to 1,700 years ago. Samples were labeled based on archaeological evidence and not only on chronology. Figure 4 and supplementary figures S13, S24 show the pigmentation traits inferred in samples belonging to different time periods. We only reported phenotypes that the calling methods could confidently predict. For the probabilistic method, we reported the status of a phenotype only if it had been predicted in at least 90% of the 1,000 replications generated by the genotype likelihoods. From approximately 45,000 to 13,000 years ago. 12 samples. Dark phenotypes are inferred for all traits for almost all the samples analyzed. The only exception is a Russian sample, Kostenki 14, dated to between 38,700 and 36,200 years ago, which exhibits an intermediate skin color. From approximately 45,000 to 13,000 years ago, 12 samples. From approximately 14,000 to 4,000 years ago, 66 samples. Light eye colors are inferred for 11 samples. They come from Northern Europe, France, and Serbia. By contrast, all 24 samples from the easternmost regions only display the dark phenotype. In Serbia, both phenotypes coexist, 1 with blue eyes and 4 with brown eyes. 61 samples show dark hair phenotypes, with the exception of 1 Swedish and 1 Serbian sample, both showing blonde features. Skin color displays a broader range of phenotypes, predominantly dark, 43 samples, with regions in Europe also showing intermediate phenotypes, 7 samples from Denmark, France, Georgia, Russia, Serbia, and Spain, and the earliest light phenotypes observed in this study, 3 samples from France and Sweden. In this time transect, we observe for the first time an individual with inferred blue eyes, blonde hair, and light skin, NEO27, a hunter-gatherer from Sweden who lived approximately 12,000 years ago. The skin phenotype is more variable, with regions in Europe, Portugal, Italy, Austria, Germany, Hungary, Estonia, and Russia, and Western Asia, Iran, and Turkey, exhibiting exclusively a dark phenotype, whereas other regions show either both dark and intermediate phenotypes. 25 samples exhibit the latter from Croatia, Denmark, France, Greece, Ireland, Latvia, Malta, Poland, Serbia, Sweden, and Ukraine, or even light skin phenotypes in 5 samples from the Czech Republic, Great Britain, Latvia, Sweden, and Ukraine. From approximately 6,000 to 3,500 years ago, 42 samples, 31E, 33H, 28S. Even during the Copper Age, dark phenotypes are prevalent. Most samples, 26, show dark eyes, with the light phenotype present in 5 samples from Denmark, Hungary, Italy, and Romania. Hair phenotypes remain mostly dark, with only 1 sample showing intermediate hair color, Denmark, and 1 sample exhibiting light hair color, Romania. Skin color is still predominantly dark, 17 samples in Eastern Europe and the Iberian Peninsula, but intermediate skin tones are observed in Spain, Kazakhstan, and Central Europe, 7 samples from Hungary, Italy, the Netherlands, Poland, and Romania, and light skins in Denmark, Great Britain, and Romania, 4 samples. From approximately 7,000 to 3,000 years ago, 71 samples, 55E, 64H, 43S. Western Europe, Southern Europe, Russia, and Southern Asia still exhibit a higher frequency of dark skin phenotypes, 22 samples. But we also observed an increase in intermediate phenotypes in Central Europe and Central Eastern Europe, as well as their first appearance in Russia, 15 samples in total. The light phenotype emerged in 6 samples from the Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, France, Great Britain, and Hungary. During this period, we observed an increase in the co-occurrence of estimated blue eyes, blonde hair, and light skin, with 4 samples exhibiting this combination of phenotypes. I7198 from the Czech Republic, EKA1 from Estonia, I2445 from England, and SZ1 from Hungary. From approximately 3,000 to 1,700 years ago. 25 samples skin color analysis shows the dark phenotype, 6 samples, in Russia, Kazakhstan, and Italy. The intermediate phenotype, 3 samples, in Denmark, Kazakhstan, and reappears in Spain. The light phenotype, 2 samples, is still present in Northern Europe. A combination of blue eyes, blonde hair, and pale skin is observed in 2 samples, VK521 from Denmark and DA236 from Finland. Based on this groundbreaking genetic analysis, it seems that light skin tones first appeared in Europe about 14,000 years ago, during the Mesolithic period, in Scandinavia. But light skin remained rare for the next 7,000 years or so. During the Copper and Bronze Ages, 5000 to 1000 BC, light pigmentation continued to increase, but darker skin was still more widespread. This was a surprise for the Italian research team, who had expected to discover a much faster spread of light complexions. There was some regional variation, however, as the shift took place more rapidly in Northern Europe. By the Iron Age, 3000 to 1100 years ago, Light skin could be found in the majority of those who lived in this region, although darker skin was still present in the majority overall and in a sizable minority in Northern Europe. During this time, dark pigmentation was still more common in Southern Europe, including among the Romans who built the Republic and Empire and conquered so many people.
If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you.
Our outlook determines our reality. How impressive it was for white insecurity to convince us to reject the true reality based on the color of our skin. Through the use of forensic DNA, phenotyping, groundbreaking genetic analysis has been uncovered. The truth has been revealed. The white man did not appear until 14,000 years ago, during the Mesolithic period in Scandinavia. However, white people remained a minority for over 7,000 years. However, the most startling revelation comes from the Bronze, Copper, and Iron Age. You see, white people began to grow in numbers, yet dark skin pigmentation was the most dominant during the Copper and Bronze Age. White pigmentation began to rise and was most common in Northern Europe during the Iron Age, with small pockets of dark skin throughout. But here's the plot twist. Y'all still watching? White people? Good. Southern Europe was predominantly dark skin. The Roman Empire, Greco-democracy, Romulus, Remus, your holy culture of white pride and your forefathers to civilization of humanity, was founded, built upon, and civilized by black men. You see, your predecessors understood their insecurity. They knew the true history, and so they convinced you that you were something you were not. Conquerors and creators of civilizations, when you weren't even a thought or even existed up until 7,000 years ago. The only contributions the white man has brought to civilization is a dehumanization of civil societies. By convincing the poor white man of his supremacy, then they lashed out upon the world by proving their insecurities true. That they are white men in a black world.
I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all. I'm blickety black, blacker than black, I'm blacker than black, yo, because I'm black and I'm back. Yo, I'm black and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all.
Hello there, I'm Kios Ronin Beatmaker, and welcome to Ronin Art and Music, home to Ronin Music, Lounge Ronin, all things, everything, the Monday Mindset Rants, and Ronin Reviews. We strive to make holistic and authentic content that aims to improve your individuality, mental fortitude, and peace of mind. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love. Now, back to the show.